It was a nice sunny afternoon when Zaria Steele, who is the wife of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, came to a small parking lot outside a little cafe in a town in Texas. She had a big smile on her face. Her long, dark hair was loose and blowing gently in the soft wind. She had come early that day to surprise her good friend, who had just opened a small art gallery next to the cafe. Zaria wasn't trying to be fancy or get noticed. She just wanted to help her friend. Across the street, a police officer named Officer Brent Maller was sitting in his police car. He was tall, pale, and looked serious with his short military-style haircut. He drank coffee and watched carefully. When he saw Zaria, a black woman who looked confident and nice, he didn't just see a person. He saw someone he thought did not belong there. He frowned. Zaria walked into the cafe. She hugged her friend and ordered some tea. She laughed and took pictures with some people who recognized her. She was being quiet and kind. But Brent started walking toward her across the street. 10 minutes later, Zaria came out of the cafe, holding her cup of tea. She was just halfway to her car when she heard a voice say, "Hey!" She turned and saw Brent. He was coming close. "What are you doing here?" the officer asked sharply. Zaria blinked and said, "Excuse me." He asked again, "What are you doing in this neighborhood? This is a place for local people." Zaria smiled and said, "I'm here to support my friend's new art gallery." Brent wasn't happy. He said, "Show me your ID." Zaria's smile disappeared. "Officer, I haven't done anything wrong." "Show me your ID now, ma'am," he said louder. A few people started to gather and watch. Brent felt braver because others were watching him. He took a clipboard from his car and said, "Come here. You're being detained." "Detained? For what?" Zaria asked, stepping back. "For looking suspicious." "Because you don't act like you belong here," Brent said. Zaria knew her rights and said she was not doing anything wrong. But before she could move, Brent grabbed her arm. People gasped. Zaria tried to pull away but dropped her tea. Brent pushed her against her car. Then he did something very wrong. He grabbed her long hair and cut it with a knife. Zaria screamed. Brent held the hair up like a prize. "Maybe now you'll listen when someone in uniform talks to you," he said with a mean smile. Someone in the crowd shouted, "What are you doing? That's wrong." Another person started to record with their phone. Someone else was calling 911 to report the bad cop. But Brent didn't care. He laughed and said, "You act like you're better than everyone. Now you look like it." Zaria was shaking but stood up. She held the pieces of her hair in her hands and tears rolled down her cheeks. She looked at Brent and said quietly, "You just made a big mistake." Brent laughed and said, "Who's going to stop me?" Far away, in a quiet room, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was making a film. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. It was a message from someone he didn't know. When he looked at it, he saw a video. It was a video of the bad thing that had happened to Zaria. The video showed her scared, crying, and the bad cop cutting her hair and laughing. Dwayne sat very still, his hands clenched, his eyes serious. He didn't say a word. All he thought was, "I will make him pay. The whole world will see." He got into a black SUV. The car moved silently through the dark streets. Dwayne sat in the back seat, watching the video again and again. He saw how scared Zaria was. He heard the scissors cutting her hair. He heard the bad cop laughing. He didn't blink or breathe deeply. He just sat quietly. Kenya Rhodes, his public helper and close friend, was sitting next to him. She had never seen Dwayne like this before. "Dwayne," she said softly, "do you want me to call the police station?" "No," he said quietly. "What do you want to do then?" she asked. Dwayne looked at her and said almost in a whisper, "I want to see his face when he understands what he did." After 15 minutes, they reached the police station. It was just an old brick building behind a park. The flag outside moved in the wind. Dwayne got out of the car. He wasn't wearing fancy clothes, just a black t-shirt, jeans, and boots. He didn't need fancy clothes to make a statement because everyone already knew who he was. Inside the station, the front desk officer looked up and was surprised. "Mr. Johnson, I need the name of the officer who works near the cafe around 2 hours ago," she said. She hesitated. "I can't give that information," she added quickly. Dwayne said. Then get your boss. After 10 minutes, a man came out. He was a little heavy, had thin hair, and looked nervous. Mr. Johnson, I'm Lieutenant Hale. How can I help you? Where is the officer who cut my wife's hair? Dwayne asked. The lieutenant looked surprised. We don't know if that really happened. Dwayne stepped forward and showed his phone. He played the video of the bad cop cutting Zaria's hair. The lieutenant's face turned pale. I didn't know, now I do. I promise there will be an internal investigation, he said. Dwayne stopped him. No investigations. There will be real consequences. Meanwhile, outside the town, Officer Brent Maller was sitting in his police car eating fries. He smiled as he looked at his phone. He saw clips of the video online. Not many people had seen it yet. He thought the police would hide it or just give him a small punishment. But then he saw Justice for Zaria trending online. Lots of videos, news, and pictures of Dwayne Johnson going to the police station. The smile left his face. Back at the police station, Lieutenant Hale was sweating. We're trying to call Internal Affairs. Officer Maller hasn't answered. He will, said Dwayne. And when he does, I'll be here. You can't just confront him, the lieutenant said. Let me be clear, Dwayne said coldly. I won't hurt him inside the station, but when I do, the whole world will see what real justice looks like. Suddenly, the radio at the station said, Unit 17, the person we want is coming into parking lot 3. Lieutenant Hale's eyes got wide. He's here. Dwayne stood still outside. Officer Brent got out of his car. He looked nervous but tried to act like nothing was wrong. When he saw Dwayne standing there, their eyes met. For the first time in his whole career, Brent felt something new, fear. Because Dwayne didn't look angry. He looked ready. Ready to fight. Ready to make things right. Brent tried to smile and say, Mr. Johnson, I think there's a mistake. But Dwayne didn't move. He just stood there, strong and sure. The Rock took one big step forward. Then he took another step. Then one more step. Brent took a step back. Lieutenant Hale quickly came between them. His heart was beating fast. He said, Mr. Johnson, he is not here to fight. The Rock did not say anything. He just looked at Brent very seriously. I won't hit you here, The Rock said. But I will say this. You hurt her, so now I will hurt you in a different way. Brent laughed nervously. What? You want my money? No, said The Rock, his voice low and serious. I want to take away your name, your good reputation, and the fake power your badge gives you. The next morning, the police parking lot was very quiet. 3 news reporters sat nearby in cars that did not have police stickers. 2 police officers did not come to work. Inside the police station, Officer Brent Maller sat alone in the break room. This break room used to feel like his special place, like a king's room. But now it felt like a prison. Every person in the police station looked at Brent, but quickly looked away. Nobody wanted to be near the man who was in trouble for bad reasons. But The Rock was not wasting any time. He sat in a quiet room near the city's media area. His laptop was open, and his sleeves were rolled up. His voice was calm and strong. Sitting across the table were Kenya and a man named Keenan Roy. Keenan was a special investigator who worked to find bad police officers. Keenan had seen many bad police officers before. He said, they did many wrong things, but hid it so no one could see. This case is different. They showed the world what they did. The Rock leaned closer. I want to know everything about this man. Every complaint, every arrest, every secret that was hidden. Keenan nodded. We already found 5 secret complaints from women of color. These complaints were hidden. No one was punished. Sound familiar? The Rock's jaw got tight. How many more secrets are there? Keenan raised his eyebrow. Are you sure you want to know? Yes, The Rock said. But I need to know. Meanwhile, Zaria sat alone in their hotel room. She watched the bad things people were saying about her online. Some messages were nice, but some were very mean. One message said, if The Rock's wife does not want attention, maybe she should not break the law. Another said, her haircut was a punishment, not a crime. Zarya slowly touched the side of her head where her curly hair used to be. She did not cry. Not now. Now she was focused. Suddenly, the phone rang. The number was unknown. She answered, "Zarya Steele." A voice said, "I used to work at the Westwood police station. Maller was my boss. I saw what he did to you and many others." Zarya's heart beat fast. "Who is this?" The voice said, "I tried to stop him once and I got punished. I want to talk, but not on the phone and not here. Meet me tonight." Hours later, The Rock and Zarya met a woman named Darla Gwen. She used to work in the police station's office. She brought papers, emails, and notes. In these papers, Officer Brent Maller had joked about treating people badly. He called some neighborhoods grooming zones, like they were easy to hurt. He once said a black teenager was dangerous just because he wore a hoodie. The worst thing was a secret group chat between 4 police officers, including Maller. The messages said, "Next time someone tells a sad story about us, I will send clippers. It is the fastest way to remind them who's boss." The Rock closed the folder and breathed out. Then he said, "He wants to hurt and embarrass people. Let's show him how it feels to be hurt by the truth." The next day, some of Darla's secret files were shared online legally. Videos showed Brent laughing as he hurt people he had caught. One video showed him pushing a black teenager against a car and laughing. He said it was normal. The Rock did not say anything online. He did not need to. The whole world saw the monster. At a press conference outside the city courthouse, Kenya Rhodes stood in front of many microphones. She did not shout or cry. She said, "You all saw the video of what he did to Zarya Steele. Now you see what he did to others. He did not do it alone. He was protected. But now that protection is gone. Dwayne Johnson will not wait for others to fix this. He is fixing it himself." That night, The Rock got a call from an unknown number. He picked up. A quiet voice said, "You are making many enemies." "Good," said The Rock. "They were too comfortable before." "What happens next?" the voice asked. The Rock answered quickly, "I will make him look me in the eye and beg." Officer Brent Maller sat in his police car behind a liquor store on 38th and Main Streets. He was shaking with anger. His phone kept buzzing. His friends were not answering. His name was everywhere. His past was exposed. Now his job was in trouble. A local radio host called him the shame of Texas police. His police station was voting to suspend him without pay. The videos The Rock shared were now known all over the world. Inside his car, Brent opened the glove box and took out a bottle of cheap bourbon. It was his secret way to calm down. He muttered, "That Hollywood fake thinks he can ruin me." He looked in the mirror. His eyes were red, and his face was pale. His confidence was broken. But it was not until he stepped out of the car and heard a voice that his stomach dropped. He turned around. Standing there, all alone, no cameras, no police, no team, was The Rock. He wore a black hoodie with his sleeves rolled up. No smile. Only anger. Brent tried to smile and said, "This is harassment, Johnson." "No," The Rock said, stepping closer. "This is justice. You hurt my wife for fun. Now it is your turn." Brent reached for his gun, but The Rock was faster. He slapped Brent's hand down. A loud sound cracked as the metal hit the ground. The gun slid across the pavement. No badge. No backup. Just me and you. Brent stumbled back. He raised his fists. Panic filled him. "You think you can fight me?" The Rock said. "I am not here to fight you. I am here to teach you," The Rock said. The first punch hit Brent hard in the ribs. Brent bent over and gasped for air. The second punch hit his chin. Then a hook punch. Then a shove. Brent crashed into his police car. The breath was knocked out of him. People across the street started to film. One yelled, "It's him. That's The Rock." Another said, "He's beating the cop who shaved his wife's head." A third yelled, "Good." Brent staggered forward. Blood ran from his lip. He tried to swing a punch, but The Rock caught his arm and twisted it behind his back. Then he slammed Brent's face against the car door once, twice. Then he whispered, "You think your badge makes you a god. But today, you will bleed like every person you hurt." Brent dropped to the ground, coughing. He curled up, trying to protect himself. But The Rock did not stop with punches. He knelt beside Brent, held up a phone, and played the video where Brent laughed at Zaria's pain. He made Brent watch it. Then The Rock said, "Now, tell the world why you did this." Brent moaned. "Screw you." The Rock stood up. "You will." That night, the video showed on every screen in America. The Rock fights and beats the bad cop who hurt his wife. No punches were hidden. No parts were cut out. People didn't just watch it. They cheered. Brent was hurt badly. His wrist was broken, and his cheek was cracked. The police station suspended him for a long time. But the news was not about his injuries. It was about the truth. A man who used his power to hurt others was finally shown what it means to have no power. The Rock walked away quietly. No charges. No regrets. Because this was not revenge. This was the start of fairness. The video of The Rock hitting Officer Brent Maller hit more than 80 million views in just 48 hours. News stations, online stars, and even media from other countries all talked about it. Some said it was heroic. Others, mostly the same people who did not speak up before, said it was wrong. But no one could ignore it. And that was the problem for the bad people. At the Westwood County Courthouse, some important people had a secret meeting. Local leaders, police union people, and lawyers sat around a table. A man in a clean gray suit put a folder on the table. He said, "Mr. Maller wants to press charges for hitting him." Another person said, "Are you crazy? He is a national hero right now. You want to sue The Rock." The lawyer said coldly, "We are not suing The Rock. We are using the message." The next morning, the big news said, "Former police officer says Dwayne Johnson hurt him." People on the internet were divided. Some cheered for The Rock, his nickname, and his name was very popular all over the world. But the problem was serious. At home, The Rock was sitting quietly in his office, looking at the news. Zaria, his wife, came in. She wore a big hoodie, and her hair was still growing back in patches. She looked at the screen, read the headline, and said, "Let them come. They can't change the truth." Far away in the city, a man named Officer Brent Maller sat in a wheelchair. He was hurt and angry. Cameras followed him as he slowly moved into a courtroom. He wore sunglasses to hide a big bruise on his eye. Reporters asked him, "What do you want from this lawsuit?" Brent took off his glasses and said, "I just want justice." His lawyer stood behind him, nodding. People tried to change the story, but The Rock was ready. He wasn't just going to protect himself. He wanted to show the truth. At a big outdoor event, with lots of cameras and people, The Rock stood with Zaria next to him. He spoke without reading anything or pretending. He said, "When my wife was hurt by a man with a badge, no one from the police said anything. When she cried, when her hair fell on the ground, when her dignity was made fun of on camera, no one called that a crime. But when the man got hurt the same way, suddenly it became a big crime. This is not about one punch. This is about power." The crowd shouted and cheered. But The Rock was not done. He said, "If standing up for my wife means I get sued, then sue me. If defending dignity is against the law, then lock me up. I will be proud and I will come out stronger." By the end of the week, people started to support The Rock. The lawsuit lost support. A website started raising money to help The Rock. In just 2 days, it got $3.7 million. People protested outside the courthouse holding signs that said, "Justice isn't always pretty," and "We are Zaria." Inside the courtroom full of reporters, the judge looked at videos carefully. Brent's lawyer tried to say he was just protecting himself. But the judge looked at one photo, Zaria crying with her hair on the ground. The judge shook his head and said, "No, this court does not protect men who use their badges as weapons." The case was dropped. Outside, reporters surrounded The Rock as he walked down the courthouse stairs. One reporter asked, "What do you say to people who think you went too far?" The Rock stopped, looked at everyone, and said, "I did exactly what was needed." The day after the case was over, The Rock and Zaria's house was filled with flowers, letters, and messages. Some were from famous people, some from strangers. All of them saw something special in Zaria. Zaria sat at the kitchen table, looking through the messages. One message was a video from a little girl. She was 9 years old, wearing her school uniform, sitting on her bed with tears in her eyes. She said, "They made me cut my braids because of the school dress code. But when I saw you stand strong, I knew I did nothing wrong." Zaria covered her mouth because she felt so touched. The girl whispered, "You made me feel strong." At that moment, Zaria decided she wouldn't just get through this hard time. She wanted to be a leader. 2 weeks later, in downtown Austin, thousands of people gathered for what was supposed to be a small protest. But word spread fast because Zaria was going to speak. The organizers didn't know what to expect because Zaria hadn't talked much in public since the attack. When Zaria stepped onto the stage, her hair had grown into a short, strong afro. She wore a shiny gold headband. The crowd went very quiet. Even The Rock, standing near the stage, looked like he was holding his breath. Zaria walked to the microphone, looked at the big crowd, and said, "I never thought hair could be used like a weapon. I never thought someone could take away my dignity with a smile. But when that man grabbed me and cut my crown, my hair, in front of everyone, he wasn't just punishing me. He was trying to erase me. When I cried, he thought he won." She stopped for a moment and then said, "But look around. Does this look like silence to you?" The crowd cheered loudly. People raised their fists in the air. Moms cried. Dads clapped their hands. Zaria kept going. "This is not about me anymore. It's about every woman who has been told to be smaller, quieter, less proud. It's about every little girl told she is too loud or too much. We are done making ourselves small to make others feel comfortable. We are not threats. We are thundering." Then she raised her hand and pointed at the cameras. "To every police officer who ever used their badge as a weapon, we see you. To every system that let them get away with it, we remember you. And to every little girl watching right now, your crown was never theirs to cut." The internet went wild. Crown Uncut became a big movement. Schools across Texas started looking at their rules about hair. A new law was suggested with Zaria's name to protect cultural hairstyles in schools and other public places. Big fashion companies and TV shows asked Zaria to talk about who she is, power, and being proud of where you come from. The Rock watched everything quietly. He was very proud. One night, as they sat outside on the porch looking at the stars, he said, "I can take down a man with my fists." Zaria smiled and said, "But you? You brought down a whole system with your voice." The Rock smiled back and said, "I learned from the best." But just as the movement was getting very strong, the threats started. First, it was small things. A company that promised to help Zaria's charity suddenly said no. They said there was too much trouble. A big news channel canceled her interview the day before it was supposed to happen. They said there was a problem with their schedule. Her emails started getting strange messages. These were not just mean words. They were warnings. Then came a scary letter. It had no return address and was brought by hand. Inside was one sheet of paper. It said, "Back down or we will take everything from you and your husband. We know what to leak first." There was no name on it, but the message was clear. This was not just random bullying. It was planned. Zaria showed the letter to Dwayne. He read it once, folded it, and calmly burned it over the kitchen sink. "If they had anything bad on us, they would have used it already," he said. "This letter is scary." Still, things felt different. When Zaria left the house, she saw strange cars parked nearby for a long time. At events, she saw unknown people watching her closely but never cheering. Behind all of this was a strong and dark power, the kind that protects men like Officer Brent Maller, the kind that hides behind rules in important offices, the kind that hates to lose. The Rock called a hacker friend who used to work with his company. In a few hours, they found out where the threatening emails came from. It was not just random people or bots. It was a private security company. They were hired by a group of retired police officers who wanted to keep the old way of things. Their whole job was to watch and stop stories that could hurt the police's image. They wanted to target people like Zaria. That night, The Rock sat in his study. Kenya, his helper, said, "You need to hear this." She connected him to a secret recording from inside the company. A man's voice said, "She is getting too loud. We don't have to stop her completely. Just ruin her name enough so people stop listening. If her husband hits again, We can say it's a pattern and confuse the world. That's all we need. The Rock leaned back in his chair. For the first time in weeks, his jaw tightened with fire inside. He was not just angry. He was ready. The next morning, without telling anyone first, he shared a video on every website and app. The screen was just black, but his voice was loud and clear. He said, "Some people want to stop my wife from speaking out. They are scared, not because she is dangerous, but because she is strong and brave. They want you to think she talks too much or is too angry. But that is how bad people stay safe, by hurting every woman who doesn't listen to them. Not this time." Then the screen changed, showing names, company papers, contracts, and proof. It showed not just threats but a big plan made to protect bad men and make victims stay quiet. People everywhere started talking about it. Even famous people who had been quiet began to speak up. News shows said there should be a big investigation. Suddenly, the secret group was in the spotlight. At a big meeting room, many senators sat on a long desk. Helpers were busy writing notes. Cameras were watching from corners. In the middle sat Zaria Steele, wearing a black suit and a small gold crown pin. To her left sat Kenya Rhodes. To her right sat Dwayne Johnson. Both were quiet and serious, looking at everyone in the room. Behind them sat many supporters, survivors, students, moms, dads, all wearing black. They watched and waited. The boss of the meeting, Senator Gloria, tapped his microphone and said, "Miss Zaria Steele, please tell us what happened." Zaria stood up slowly, walked to the table, and spoke without any papers. "2 months ago I was hurt. Not by a punch or in a dark place, but with hair clippers by a man who wore a uniform, right in front of people. No one stopped him. He didn't say anything while cutting my hair, but his smirk told me this was not about rules. It was about control. I was not the first, and I won't be the last, but I am one of the loudest, and I will not say sorry for that." She paused. The room was quiet. Then she went on. "This is not about one man. It is about the whole system that gave him the power to do this, that protected him, and told me to calm down, while he laughed. I am not here for revenge. I am here to ask, how many more women do you need to hurt before you listen?" People clapped loudly from the back of the room. The boss banged his hammer for silence. Then came a surprise. Senator Terrence, a politician known for being unfair, leaned forward and smirked. "Mrs. Johnson," he said, "do you think it is okay to use your husband's fame to get what you want?" The room got tense. Zaria looked right at him and smiled. "Senator, if you think I am here only because I am married to The Rock, then you are exactly right. That is why I am here." The crowd gasped. Even Senator Terrence blinked, surprised. Zaria was not done. "This committee listens to rich people who want favors in secret rooms, but when a woman shows up with pain and truth, you say she is too emotional." Zaria's bill, called the Crown Respect and Anti-Humiliation Act, was going to be voted on in the Senate the next day. This law would protect people's natural hair in schools and government places. It would make sure police and school workers learn to be fair and kind. It would let people fight hair discrimination like it was a civil rights problem. This was not just a small change. It was a big change in how things worked. That's why some people wanted to stop it. The night before the vote, The Rock and Zaria met with their lawyers, 2 senators who helped write the bill, and Kenya Rhodes. Everyone was hopeful. They thought they had enough votes. Then the door opened. A young helper came in, white-faced and shaking. She held a folder. "I'm sorry," she said. "You need to see this." Inside the folder were 3 names. 3 senators who said they would vote yes had changed their minds and said no. No warning. No reason. Just betrayal. Senator Imani slammed her hand on the table. "They sold us out. Someone scared them or paid them," she said. Zaria looked around the room. "So what do we do now? Beg them to change their minds?" No one said anything until The Rock stood up. "No," he said. "We remind them who they are hurting. And we let the whole country watch." That night, The Rock posted a video. It got 112 million views in one day. There was no music or fancy camera tricks, just him sitting in a hoodie. After some silence, he spoke. "Tomorrow, powerful people will vote on whether my wife and millions like her deserve protection. Some will say no, Not because the law is bad, but because the truth is hard to hear. I'm not going to fight with fists again. I'm going to fight with the one thing they can't control. People. You watch them, call them out, and if they betray you, never forget it. The internet exploded. By morning, the 3 senators' offices had over 1 million calls. Big news channels started talking about Zaria's testimony. The hashtag Vote with Zaria was everywhere. Then came the day of the vote. Inside the Senate, the roll call began. One by one, names were called yes, yes, no, yes, no, yes. The room was full of tension. Zaria sat on the balcony, her jaw tight. The Rock stood behind her, holding the railing, eyes hard as stone. Then the 3 senators who had said no were called again. Yes, yes, yes. They had changed their votes back because the people would not let them hide. The final count was 56 yes and 44 no. The Maya Act passed. Tears ran down Zaria's cheeks, not because she won, but because the lies were lost. That night, The Rock and Zaria held hands in front of thousands outside the Capitol steps. A young boy in the crowd shouted, "You didn't give up." Zaria smiled and said, "Neither did you." 6 months later, the world was different. In all 50 states, schools and federal workplaces put up new signs that said, "Hair discrimination is against the law." Training programs taught police and teachers to be kind and fair. They learned about respect and the harm of unfair bias. Every session started with Zaria Steele's testimony video. In classrooms, young black girls proudly wore their natural hair, afros, locks, twists, and braids, without fear. In offices, women who used to straighten their hair to look professional started wearing it naturally. The change didn't just change the law. It changed how people saw things. But the story wasn't over. In a quiet courtroom in Houston, Officer Brent Maller sat before judges who decided if he should keep his police badge. His lawyer asked for mercy, saying he was hurt and embarrassed by what happened. Then Brent stood up, looking tired and sad. "I made a mistake," he said quietly, "but I was doing my job." Someone whispered in the back, "That's what they always say." The lead judge nodded once and said, "Mr. Maller, your badge is taken away forever. What you did was not police work. It was mean and hateful. You will never wear a badge again." Outside the courtroom, reporters asked The Rock and Zaria, "What do you think of this decision?" Zaria thought for a moment and said, "It's not just about taking away his badge. It's about making sure no one like him ever gets one again. This is not the end. It is the beginning." That evening, Zaria stood on the stage at the NAACP Image Awards, not as a guest, but as Woman of the Year. She wore a crown-shaped pin, and this time her curls were big and free. She looked at the crowd full of people who want change, celebrities, moms, survivors, and children, and said, "When they cut my hair, they thought I would disappear. But they forgot that roots grow back. From mine grew a fire." In the front row, The Rock watched her with eyes full of pride. He didn't smile or clap. He just stood with everyone and nodded. Because this was never about being angry or getting even. It was always about starting fresh and making things better. If you like this story, tell me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more fun adventures and mysteries. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.